so much for the kindly invitation presentation here. The considerations in my contribution aims first of all at picking up the image of the human unity of body and soul in the Jewish Christian tradition, as it presents itself in the biblical anthropology. In the second step, the model of a philosophical interpretation of the human unity of body and soul shall be depicted, which developed the greatest influence in Christian theology. Talking about the immortal human soul in an Aristotelic Thomistic tradition means the inner principle of life or form which sustains the unity of man. Differing from Greek thought, which contrasts sharply body and soul as opposing poles of human existence, the anthropological basic concept of biblical speech are not describing different overlapping layers within man from which he is said to be composed, when man is described as soul, spirit, flesh, or heart. The wholeness of his existence is in fact focused respecting different angles. These concepts are virtually never contrasted. Instead, they are often parallelized if man is simply meant as a whole in the unity of his concrete existence. As we just heard in a very good manner about the concept of nefesh, basar, ruach, and so on, I will abbreviate this part of my contribution and go over to the anthropological and philosophical reflection about this unity of body and soul. However, in the particular semantic field of these different anthropological terms, ruach, basar, nefesh, these terms always persist a mutual feature which distinguishes biblical thought from the idea of man of the Greek philosophers. The basic terms, soul, spirit, heart, and flesh, do not describe isolated layers within man from which his existence is being built from, or which would, after being torn apart in the alienated state of his life, have to come back to an original hierarchical order. In fact, the individual biblical terminologies being taken from single organs or biological life functions reveal different possibilities of man, which are granted to him concerning different regards. They focus on the holistic reality of his existence from different angles, and thus picture man equally in his need and fugacity, in his creational longing and in his desire, in his social relatedness and in his individual characteristics. In doing so, man's life is always determined by his relations in which he lives, with the creative vitality of God. The contrast of flesh and spirit soul does not express an anthropological contradiction within man, but an oppositional relatedness for the creature towards his creator. Differing from the anthropological dualism in Greek philosophy, for Paul, the apostle, spirit and flesh do not describe two struggling layers within man, like an upper sphere, which is determined by reason, and a lower sphere of bodily needs, but always the whole human being in different aspects, if he is either orientated towards God or locked within himself. The term spirit, pneuma, stands although for the life-donating power of God, in contrast to flesh, sarx, which offers a broader spectrum of meaning. Following the Old Testamentary term basar, flesh can initially picture man's physicality and his ontological mode of his earthly historical existence. In contradiction to God's everlasting pneuma, Sarx thus stands for the sphere of the mundane and perishable, which characterize the life sphere of man. However, the term flesh also points for Paul to the origin of sin, which shows itself not only within the single evil deeds of man, but also in a damaged self-relatedness. Man is living a fleshly way of existence as he is content with the superficial, fruitive life and simply relies on his own power. Within this qualified theological parlance, spirit and flesh thus depict two alternative possibilities of existence, each one containing the complete human as a person. Unlike the term Sarx, which stands for the sinful isolation of the self, body, soma, means the creatural mode of man's existence, his bodily agency, whereby the answers to God's agency and thus his will. Between the body and the I, one cannot distinguish within Pauline thought. In fact, it prevails that the body is the life form of the I. The I exists bodily. In this sense, Paul speaks about the redemption of the body, thus meaning, in contrast to the Gnostic conceptions of a redemption from the body or from the condition of fleshly existence, the redemption of the body, together with the redemption of the whole human being. So far, we can assert that Pauline anthropology does not know any duality of the I and the body, as in contrast to widespread tendencies in the environment of the New Testament, but following the paradigm of the Old Testament, represents a holistic doctrine of the body-soul unity of man, which offers a great closeness to the body concept of the current phenomenology. The anthropological key concepts although state the grand alternative which man is confronted with, whether he decides to live trusting in his creatural state of being a flesh, or in his opening towards his Creator as spirit. The most influenced analysis within the history of reception of the body-soul unity of man, which is also adaptable to modern theories of emergence that state a non-reductive explanation for the mental development, is to be found in the Aristotelic Thomistic polymorphism. It can be understood as a middle position between a naturalistic interpretation of manhood and the dualism of substances in Descartes, which avoids the one-sidedness and reductions of both extremes. Better than any other alternative theory, polymorphism is able to express the complexity of human spheres of existence, ranging from the bodily, vital, basic layer to the mental, psychical, and finally to the spiritual, and simultaneously stick to the unity of man. According to the basic polymorphistic intuition, the spirit of the soul, the anima rationalis, which possesses at the same time an animalistic as well as a vegetative dimension, is regarded to be the substantial form, the forma substantialis, of any individual human being. She acts as a metaphysical active principle which allows someone to be the concrete someone who he is. Under an exegesis of the hellenomorphistic position dominating since the age of high scholasticism, the forma of a creature can be understood as actus primus, meaning as the realization or the being real of an organism. A creature differs from dead bodies or inanimate substances in having a soul as life principle. This not only causes the unity of the organism, whereby this creature lives, but she also enables this creature to do the characteristic acts of his kind. For the human, this implies that he truly lives by the presence of his soul in his body and is able to implement his body-soul existence. His organism is not only an especially complexly constructed body, or like in the Cartesian dualism, a delicate automata, but the medium of expression of a person, constituting in her body and through her body. As the anima rationalis represents the one principle of life and reality of the complete human being, even the pre-rational animalistic layers are arranged in a specifically human way towards his destination of a way of existence shaped by the spirit. That man possesses a spiritual soul which distinguished him from all other creatures which hold a specific animalistic soul causes, according to the Wilhelministic approach, that a human lives and is able to perform typical human functions and acts. According to a manner of speaking, within the radius of the Hellenistic theory, man is composed from two parts, namely from the body as the materia and the soul as the forma. Corresponding to this idea, matter and form are first of all thought as two individually existing parts of a whole, which are but later combined. However, this approach cannot explain the concrete unity of the human implementation of life. That is to say, matter doesn't signify an independent part of man, but only the bodily substratum whereby he exists. Likewise, the soul isn't an independent partition of the human way of existence, or even less, the actual human, but she describes the being reason or being alive of the human, who only exists within and through his unity of both body and soul. If hylomorphism is interpreted in this sense, stemming from the Aristotelic teaching of act and potency, the speech of man as a compositum proved to be at least very mistakable. She originates from the description of the procedure of producing an artifact. If a sculptor creates a statue from wood or marble, one can interpret this process in a way that the finished statue is a whole unit composed from two elements, a new compositum. The one aspect, materia, depicts what she is made of. The other aspect, her forma, the new thing she became by the artisan's craft. She remains to be wooden, but she is no longer just wood, but became a wooden statue or statue made from wood. If one transfers this way of speaking of the partial aspects of any entity, which form a new unity by their combination, to animated beings, the unity of this creature is imminent to be in danger. One can indeed say about a creature like man that his unity is more than just the sums of his parts. But within this unity, the soul mustn't be thought of as simply another additional part, which would, for instance, be added to the organs, bones, or nerve cells, or, on a more profound layer of biological description, to the muscle cells, the blood cells, or the brain cells. Therefore, the question in which part of the organs the soul is to be located is posed in a wrong way. The soul is a life principle of the complete human, who only exists by the cooperation of all his parts, but she is not an additional part, which is added to the remaining organs to complement their own functions, which would be possible even without the soul, by another feature, like sensation, experience, the will, or the thought, in order to make man a complete unity. Indeed, one has to think about man's unity of body and soul by a more radical approach. It is already affecting the root and the origin of the existence of a concrete human being. Man as a whole exists as body and soul, in the same instance, not partly as body and partly as soul, but in the actual animated unity he forms in being this human. He lives as this concrete human as long as the unity of body and soul exists, and he ceases to be this human if the unity of body and soul is suspended. There is no such thing as a human body which exists solely as a body and is not animated by the soul. Equally, within man's span of existence, there is no such thing as a pure human soul, existing independently from a torso, which he animates and thereby transforms to the body of a little human. If man's unity of body and soul is interpreted as an expression of his lifelines and vice versa, the falling apart into pieces cannot be seen as life anymore. The speech about a dead human body or a human corpse is at its heart wooden iron. Within the helomorphistic frame of thinking, it's impossible to imagine a human body which is not animated and therefore alive. Even to describe the process of decomposition of the corpse, one has to state a however present remaining function of the soul to indicate the way of existence of this dead organism. On the other side, as St. Thomas remarked sometimes, the anima separata, the disembodied soul, may not be called a human person, because a human person only exists in the unity of soul and body. The material substratum of being is formed within concrete reality just by the parts from this being stems as a living being. Conversely, it's impossible that this being would be thinkable without the material wherein and whereof. Therefore, there cannot be syllables without letters, houses without stones, and statues without wood or marble, and correspondingly no alive human without bones, muscle cells, and so on. The Vaticanum II, the last council, expressed the strong conception of man's unity that is even rooted within biblical anthropology by a formula which forms the title of these thoughts. According to her, man is corpus et anima unus, one in body and soul. Thereby, the original intuition of the helomorphistic interpretation is preserved, saying that lively man can exist only in his unity and none of its different aspects can live an independent partial existence as just bodily, just psychic, or just spiritual reality. Preserve, but without adopting the particular termini of Aristotelic natural philosophy and metaphysics. One in body and soul. Anima et corpore unus. Man gathers just by his bodily constitution the elements of the material world within, so that in him they can reach their culmination and raise their voice to the free glorification of the Creator. So it is not permitted to man to despise the bodily life, but in contrary, he is obliged to keep its body, which was formed by God and shall be resurrected on the day of the last judgment, for good and for to be worthy of all the honor. But man is not mistaken if he realizes his superiority above all the things of the body and sees himself not simply as a part of nature or as an anonymous element of human society. In fact, in his inwardness, he exceeds the entirety of things. If he therefore recognizes the spiritual and immortal soul within, he won't mock the delusive imagination, which is only caused by physical or social circumstances, but in contrast reaches the profound truth of the cause itself. Thank you for listening.